Well, good afternoon, guys. Again, this is June 17th, and I'm now on the harsh exposures of sandstone just right behind Calf Creek Falls. You can see not a lot of plants can survive here, but there's a few that do, and a few are pretty well adapted to it, so we can talk a little about them. Of course, chief among them are the two-needle pinyon, Pinus edulis. It's a name because its needles are in fascicles of two, as opposed to the single-leaf pinyon, which has needles and fascicles of typically just one, which is very interesting for pines because they generally have needles and bundles of more than one. It's a very hardy plant, but typically found on the Colorado Plateau, while the single-leaf pinyon is found in the Great Basin. And of course, we also have Utah Juniper, which is found in both the Colorado Plateau and the Great Basin. That is Juniperus osteosperma. Yeah, those are the main plant species you can find out here, these tree species. So we see a lot of that, but we can find a couple other plants as we carry on. So let's just see what else we find. Another really common plant I'm seeing out here is this is Cercocarpus ledifolius, also known as the curl-leaf mountain mahogany. I thought for a second it was blackbrush, which you might also see out here. That's a Coleogene ramosissima, but it doesn't quite grow so much in this area. But I was really surprised to see the Cercocarpus anyways, because you normally see it growing in, I think, more mountainous, higher up areas where it can grow much more like a tree, while this one is just a pretty densely packed shrub. But the leaves, as well as the sort of like rat tail, like attachment on these seeds, which I believe are not used to drill into the soil, as I once thought there. I think mostly used to just catch the wind and blow away. Pretty hard to mistake anywhere. Just a little seeds well developed right now, and the ones in my part of the state in the Wasatch or Salt Lake County are starting to do this as well. The seeds maturing. They bloom pretty early, and they set seed, I think, mostly in July. That's when they really start to fall off, which is interesting, I suppose. We're in focus. Yeah, I've seen that one quite commonly out here. There's a lot of other plants. I mean, this is just Gutierrezia sarothrae, also known as Broom Snakeweed. Very common member of Asteraceae pretty much anywhere in the state, but it does very well in the deserty areas. You don't really see it growing in forests typically, so yeah, anywhere with like less than 20 inches of rainfall a year is an area where you're most likely going to find this plant. Very common all throughout the western United States, not just Utah, I should say. We're seeing some interesting grasses, which I can talk about as well. Some good native grasses, but that might be a little later if I ever talk about that, because I'm not seeing quite that many at this particular spot. Yeah, I believe this is, again, the Navajo Sandstone, or it's one of the associated members of the, I can't remember what it's called, but the, well, alongside it you have like the Cayenta Formation, the Wingate Formation, and the Moanave. That one's less important, but really the Cayenta and Navajo Sandstone are very important. And this was once in the early Jurassic part of what was, as far as we're aware, the largest collection of sand dunes in Earth's history, which stretch over about like, I think estimated area of 800 square miles, not 800, 800,000 square miles over the western United States, which is, yeah, it's pretty big. I'm also seeing, as one might imagine, quite a few Eriogonums out here, and this is the most common. This is Eriogonum Elatum. It's also known as like the winged, maybe red stem buckwheat. I don't know, it's got a few names. It's got a very persistent woody stem after it blooms. Like, it's a perennial, but it produces new stems each year, and they can last quite a while, the old ones at least. And it likes to grow on the sand. You see it growing on pretty deep sand dunes or in sandy pinyon juniper forest. So one can guess the soil here is very sandy, wherever it is soil, and it's not just bare rock like right there, but this is what it looks like. Definitely seems like it's wrapped up for the year. She might just be completely dead, actually. Oh yeah, that died a while ago. I take it back. Maybe we'll find some living ones, though, later on. There's another species of Eriogonum I'm seeing around here that is interesting, to say the least. It's got a really angular inflorescence, but I don't know, I just know what it is, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure it's an Eriogonum, but it's hard to tell sometimes. It's probably a really common species, to be honest. I'm just messing up, but I I don't know, it could be a really rare one. Well, let's have to find out. Another tree species I'm seeing rather sparingly around here is Pinus ponderosa, which is of course the Ponderosa Pine. Probably the most common pine species in the western United States. I guess it could be that or the lodgepole pine, but see it growing quite a lot here. It seems to like this habitat, and you can find it growing in fairly deep sand at times, which is interesting. But there's, I just don't have much to say about it. Did you know that if you peel back its bark, it smells like butterscotch? Yeah, you probably knew that already. Oh, and here's an interesting one. I talked about this in the previous video, but here's a species of Tradescantia, which is a quite widespread genus. You can find some that grow in like tropical rainforest, for instance, but this one really loves the desert. I can't remember the second part of its scientific name, unfortunately, and I couldn't in the first video, so I'm a little disappointed, but it seems to be one of the few species out here that hasn't bloomed yet. I definitely arrived in the after the peak of the spring bloom season. But this one is just starting to open up its flowers. It probably will do that in a couple days. They're really brilliant purple color. Tradescantia is a member of the family Comelinaceae, which is kind of one I don't talk about much here. There's not a lot of species in the family Comelinaceae in Utah, it seems, at least native ones. But that one is 100% native. It's not just found out in the deserts here, but I think it's found well to the east. On the Great Plains, for instance. I think Utah's actually about its westernmost distribution you can find for that particular species of Tradescantia. And it's getting kind of late. It's already 7 o'clock. I feel like back in the day, making videos when I worked for the BLM, or contracted for them. I did mention some grasses we're seeing out here. One of the most common is this one. This is Bouteloua gracilis, also known as blue Gama. It's very easy to tell because it sort of grows kind of low on the ground. It's very clonal, so you find these little rings of the grasses. Like this grass probably, or species, or not species, this individual probably started growing right here and then slowly spread outward. Its old stems dying. So you create little rings like that. Organisms that are larger than they appear. And what really sets them apart is that they got these little, their old inflorescences look like sort of like fake eyebrows or fake eyelashes, like right there. It can be really curly sometimes too, which is interesting to see. Great hardy plant, very common grass in the western United States, and a very good native one. Oh, and this, of course, is Eriogonum hymeneoides, also known as Indian rice grass. A very easy plant to tell from everyone's, of course, used by the first peoples for food, like a source of grain. And just as inflorescence, I don't know how to describe it exactly. Some scientific words I'm sure that would describe it well, but it's just very easy to spot. When you see this, you know you found Indian rice grass. I'm not seeing that many invasive grasses around here. I've seen a couple of cheatgrass specimens, but I pulled them up, or at least the ones I knew would do something, because there's some that had clearly gone to seed already. Oh, another common plant I'm seeing out here. You don't really see so much around my part of the state. This is Osteosperma Bouteloua, also known as the Greenleaf Manzanita. This one's actually looking pretty worse for wear. It's seen better days, it seems, and its leaves are sort of eating away at the margins or just dying. I think it's been pretty dry lately, but I feel like this is something this plant can handle. It is an evergreen. Most of Arctostaphylus's diversity is in the state of California. Certainly the vast majority of it. However, some species are quite widespread, like Arctostaphylus uva ursi, which is like a low ground cover in high altitude areas that you can find even into like the old world, like parts of Russia and maybe even further than that. But yeah, very solidly American and really Californian genus of plants. But I'm not in California right now, so that's probably not the most interesting thing to you guys. Oh, that's very high ISO. There might be that much else I feel like talking about today. I guess this yucca species I can mention. It's an interesting form of Yucca angustifolia. Another thing of note here is that we got a lot of this Artemisia, but it's Artemisia filifolia, which is the sand sagebrush, which is interesting. You can tell because it's got these really spindly looking leaves, quite linear and long. Sort of similar to the California sagebrush, Artemisia californica, of course, which I like quite a lot. I hope I can remember that one when I go back to California, because I definitely want to do that sometime in the future. Definitely a place worth revisiting. Because I wasn't there for a good season for wildflowers, or not a good season, a good time for wildflowers, though we still saw quite a lot, so I can't imagine how good it is during the peak bloom. It's a species of ephedra, but I don't have enough time to figure out which one it was. I kind of forgot how to tell them apart, sadly. So look out there. I wonder what kind of megafauna you have living out here in the past. You still got probably mountain lions and some deer. But back in the day, maybe some, also not the steppe mammoths, but like a lot of other really cool things, I think. I don't know. It makes me wonder. I've been thinking a lot about extinct megafauna lately. Very depressing topic, of course, but I don't know. I just want to dwell on things like that. Now, I'm getting up to these cliffs now, and yeah, gonna be even less plants to talk about there, but thanks for watching, and see you next time. Hope this video was good. I think tomorrow's will be even better, though, which might be a pretty low bar. Let's look at that view out there. See all these volcanic boulders on the ground, which are, yeah, volcanic rocks sitting on top of this sedimentary sandstone. Honestly, a lot newer. I think there's some, probably pretty recently, there's a lot of recent volcanoes in southern Utah. So just pretty intense lava flows as well, but yeah. Of course, I had at least one extra clip before I actually finished my video.